saying is that in our capital forecasting with our business units, right, we try to forecast what needs replacement. Right. And as part of your scenario saying that we can rearrange their faces and give them all different names, as Bob Dylan once said so famously, what we would do is just put off purchasing those things that we have a good business plan for now to affect this debt scenario? Well,
I think the overall, not specifically the debt of the sewage treatment facility, but in the context of
wastewater?
Well, the overall capital budget. For example, we have, and Council's currently discussing about increasing contributions to reserves to meet transportation needs, and increasing contributions to reserves to meet fire replacement needs. And there's some immediate needs that are coming forward on fire. I'm suggesting there are ways of approaching that fire capital through the existing reserves to address that immediate issue that would help push that out through a reallocation of reserve funds. It's not the preferred route because you identify those needs.
Okay, so let's bring it back to my terms again. Joe Fontana and getting zero again the other day, he stole from reserve, right? Okay. So one of the best parts when I rejoined council of this council, I thought was the business plan, that we projected things into the future and tried to put money aside. And now we got some, I think it was the fire budget, wasn't it, suggest that our reserve should go up. I think one of the others, the road needs study. Right. So those are all correct, are they not, John, in terms of as good business tools, right? So you're gonna, maybe I'm being dozy here, I apologize, I'm not trying to be smart ass, okay? I'm trying to get in my brain understanding it. So what would we rearrange to meet what goal? That's, you start talking in circles and I get confused, so I apologize for being that correct.
That's okay, all I'm saying is we do have a forecast. You know, the sewage treatment facility is part of that forecast. The West Bosanquet system is part of that forecast, and it's forecast quite in a quite tight time frame, and it may, on reflection, you might say
the master plan.
Yeah, we might push that down, out further because.
But if we got $5 million in free will offerings from developers tomorrow, would we jump at the chance of doing West Bosanquet? That becomes the question.
Yeah.
Okay, well then that leads to another question. Any free will offerings on this?
On the
what we're talking about today. Any free will offerings on this right today? Because we're doing every scenario come out our name in terms of this, but none. That's a simple. Okay. Now finish the rest of the question. What are you trying to do in terms of rearranging their faces? What are you approaching this with here?
I'm not trying. I'm trying to present options for council to consider and how it might finance. If this is its #1 priority and it needs to, in terms of making this workable for the residents that you want to serve, one way of approaching it is to put it over the general tax base. Another way of approaching that to help mitigate the cost is reviewing your 10-year forecast in terms of, do we really need to replace these things in the time frames that we have forecast? Can we move them out? Is there a way, for example, I know the forest pumper tanker is scheduled, and we need to move forward on that. We need to, and you're dealing with adding additional contributions to reserve funds. I'm suggesting there may be a way of financing that the most immediate term need in terms of the fire department by utilizing some of the reserves from the community services vehicle and equipment replacement fund as a higher priority and allocate that to the fire.
No, and I'll be very blunt about it. What you're actually saying is opening up a Pandora's box of political.
Yeah, I'm not recommending
political. Who knows what? Right?
Again, I want to be clear. All I'm trying to do is present options for council to consider. I'm not saying, in that sense, it's something you really have to think about.
But straws to the strategy.
Well, that's to a degree, but we wanted to make sure we explored our opportunities.
No, thank you.
Councilor Owen?
I guess as far as that conversation is concerned, I don't know. I mean, it's another option of looking at our funding and looking at that forecast. Our 10-year capital budget is just that. It's a forecast, and you know, I can think of examples in the past where we have had to look at that and make some readjustments, depending on what you believe is an important, infrastructure project at the time. So I guess all that, I don't think staff could go and sit down and do this without our direction. I mean, this option here that the CAO has in the report, it's one sentence, it's one statement saying this is something that could be done, and that would be done with us sitting around a table, looking at that document and saying, all right, is there something that can be done? And we don't have to do it, but you're exactly right to ask those questions. Those are the kinds of things that you would do. You would look at maybe possibly funding something from another section in that capital budget. If we go back many years, though, that capital budget wasn't broken out the way it is now. And there was the opportunity for shifting some things back and forth between certain business units, and extending things beyond the 10-year period. So that's a statement there, giving us an option down the road.
Councillor Scott?
Okay, two things. Number one, this is a great analysis, appreciate it. What happens if our partners never come in? I mean, we don't have a scenario that says I know that we have this tri-municipal agreement sort of sitting in limbo, but where is the analysis for what if it's all our baby? What if in the end, we have the single train and the full train, which is great, and I appreciate that, but I'd like to know what happens if Lambton Shores is totally responsible for all the debt. That's the first thing. And I realize you don't have those papers here, so that's just a statement or a question. I don't really care which way it's taken. The other thing is, one of the things that happened, and I'm going to use the Port Franks Community Center as an example, when we robbed Peter to pay Paul, which is ultimately what is a possibility here, we get leaky roofs, and when we get leaky roofs, we get rained on tiles, floors being destroyed, pieces of equipment that water drips on. So sometimes robbing Peter to pay Paul is not a good scenario to do, because things end up costing us more in the future, because now we're stuck and we have to replace it now. And that could bring on a number of different things. So I'm not in favor of robbing Peter to pay Paul.
Okay. Deputy Mayor Dag?
It's just continuing on from what Lori says. Yeah, there certainly is an issue with anticipating that we'd be able to find money in the future. We've often heard as council that it's a kind of a bare bones budget. It's our serious needs, and we have to be very careful. In fact, we're underfunding our replacements by almost $2 million from what we're told we should be paying. So we still have not find money there, and we really need to increase that, or we're going to have a really serious problem with our roads in the future as well. And we're having difficulty finding that money right now. So there's an issue there. But another question on a different line is that just for council's knowledge, with the projections of the rates here in the numbers, I want to give you an analogy. Actually, with the rural water line, Watson Associates, the same consultants, projected what the water rates would be in 2012. And they projected that they'd be $1.99. And they're actually $2.25 per cubic meter. So they're 26 cents more than they expected. And they were assuming that 60 new customers would come on every year. And in fact, we haven't had 60 new customers since 2006, the year that they projected we'd have 60 new customers. In fact, we've fallen to 33 last year. So and they're expecting hundreds of cubic meters and the corresponding payments from all of those to be augmenting these rates and giving us the numbers. So the numbers might look attractive on some levels, but you can't be assured that that's the numbers it's going to be in light of our past experience with these types of things. So we have to approach them skeptically at this point, I believe.
Councilor McGuire?
This is about capacity here again. On your report number 8, you talk about the double build as us possibly having capacity of 3,955